What I'm going to talk about is improving care. So a bit of reflection on 2016, some of which has already been covered in the Chairman's report, but some of the things we're going to be focusing on in 2017 and as we go forward into our new strategy. So the basis for a lot of what we've developed in care in the new strategy is focused and being delivered by you, people who in 2016 completed our Improving M&D Care Survey. So that's people with M&D, their carers, and everyone who completed that. 2016 was the first time we'd done our Improving M&D Care Survey since 2013, and it really has helped inform our strategy this time around. One of the things we're doing this year is we're actually made a decision that every 2 years we do this Improving M&D Care Survey, every 3 years we do a carers survey, huge documents. We're actually working now to cut those down. We're going to do them annually. So by doing those annually, we've got some comparatives and we can put some comparators, and we can look year on year on, are we achieving what we want against our strategy? Are we doing what our members want? Are we doing what people with M&D want us to do? But what's improved in that M&D Care Survey this time? What's the effect of the last strategy had on services for people with M&D? What people with M&D and their carers have told us is there's actually been an improvement across England, Wales and Northern Ireland on how the diagnosis is given. Doesn't mean that there's still areas where sometimes the diagnosis could have been done better, but certainly as we've developed our care centre networks, our care pathways, improved awareness amongst health and social care professionals of this condition, the experience of being given the diagnosis has really improved. That's what members are telling us, and I think that's hugely encouraging. There's an increased number of people with M&D who are having a named coordinator for providing their care, and of course what the NICE guideline tells us is the actual impact of coordination of care that has one of the biggest impacts on people with M&D through their journey with the disease. More people are having their breathing regularly monitored and are provided with equipment to support them. We still have postcodes lotteries, we still have areas across the association where access to non-invasive ventilation is particularly difficult, but the survey has, because we're able to analyse it by region now, has given us the opportunity to focus campaigning and work with commissioners in those particular areas. So, Phil touched on our care centres and our care networks. And one of the figures actually, this is where two teams in David Newman House have not quite joined up, because the amount of people now attending a care centre is 3,896. So not the 70% one of the slides up there said, but we have 80% of people with M&D attending one of the care centres that we partly fund. Now, a word of caution about that. There may well be some double counting going on, some people who are recorded in more than one care centre because they go for second opinion, or people who may have a familial version of the disease who live out in the region and go down to King's in London. One of the things that happens during 2017-2018 is the development of our unique national register for people with M&D, and that will begin to iron out some of those anomalies so we get actually some proper statistics and figures, because people won't be able to be double counted. You may remember back when we did the Ice Bucket Challenge, as we said up there, we had 20 care centres and networks at that time. Norfolk and Norwich comes on board on the 24th of June, so that becomes our 21st care centre, and our commitment was to have a 22nd care centre. And after looking carefully at a number of expressions of interest, we've invited the team in Stoke to apply for care centre status, and we're currently going through that process. First application has been looked at by our care committee. We're now setting up a site visit to go down and meet with the team in Stoke so we can report back fully to the Board of Trustees with a recommendation. And that's moving quickly, and it looks like, because it's Ice Bucket money funded, we don't have to wait for the next 4 years for that money to be fundraised for, so it's probably going to come on board, if it's successful, 6 months earlier than it should, which is absolutely great. They're going to be using a network approach, so reaching down into, as well, Wolverhampton and Dudley. They're currently look after about 90 people with MND. The network approach will take them up to 150, so an additional 60 people in total who don't have access currently to a care centre. So that's big impact stuff. But some of the problem areas that came out of the survey, though we can't be complacent about it, we really need to focus on them over the next few years. Still, 1 in 5 people wait for a year or more to be referred to a neurologist. We've had our red flags tool that we've used with GPs that says if you've got 1 or more of these symptoms in somebody, it may be motor neuron disease, sign to a neurologist. It means 4 in 5 are getting referred within a year, but it's still not quick. 43% of people diagnosed are still not told about the association. We need to do more about that. We need to, people who are giving the diagnosis, we need to get our information there so people are signposted to the association or at least told about us. 30% of people, and this was quite a shock really, said they were unable to ask questions at clinic appointments. Fortunately, a lot of these were not in our care centres, they were in other fast-track clinics, but certainly within our local delivery teams and regional delivery teams, that's something that we're going to be addressing. Some of the things there then that we need to focus on, and we are going to focus on in 2017. We're developing an internal end-of-life palliative care strategy. In fact, we started the scoping of that this morning, and one of the streams from that I'm going to be looking at is what we do in relation to bereavement as an association. What is our offering? You know, very often, you know, people with MND and the families tells us that sometimes bereavement starts from the point of diagnosis, because of pre-bereavement, post-bereavement. We need to understand what our offering is, whether it's something that we do ourselves as an association, whether it's a service we commit to and buy into that people are fast-tracked, what support we can give people access to locally. So that piece of work starting now, and we hope by the beginning of next year we'll have something in place that we can really improve our offering, because that's what members in the survey told us they wanted from the association. We've improved our support to children, young people and families. I mean, it was really important in the last strategy that we looked at children and young people, and already we've redone our children and young people's publications, which have been hugely welcomed and received. We've just launched a new one that's actually aimed at further education and schools, so a resource for teachers, college staff, on how they can support a child in a family that's affected by MND. That post, as some of you will know, was Ice Bucket Challenge funded until February 2018. We'll be looking at ways this year of getting that into a substantive part of the association, because it's very clearly become an integral part of our education and care information team. Phil touched on the Welfare Benefits Service, which was piloted both here up in Manchester as a face-to-face service and down in the East Midlands as a telephone support service. And very interestingly, both approaches realised just about the same amount of benefit. Given what we were paying for the Manchester service as part of that pilot, very, very clear that that's untenable in rolling out across England, Wales and Northern Ireland. One of the things the trustees were very clear about is we needed an equity of approach so that everybody with MND could access a particular service. We went out to tender early this year to look at a provider. We had 16 applications from citizens' advice bureaus and community legal advice services. We shortlisted down to 5. We interviewed a few weeks ago, and I'm pleased to say that from the 24th of April, the Citizens Advice Bureau in Cardiff and the Vale of Glamorgan will be providing a universal service for people with MND across England and Wales. There's a new service called Advice Northern Ireland that we've contracted with for people living with MND in Northern Ireland, and that service went live on the 1st of April. So I mean, I think that really demonstrates the impact of Ice Bucket Challenge money. If we don't have that money to pump prime this sort of service, it's a service we wouldn't have developed. So now I look forward to seeing that roll out and work over a period of time. So I think one of the other things we're looking at in terms of our national care services, some of you will know we have support services that provide the grants, equipment loan, the rise and recliner chairs, there's some suction machines, care admin team and an MND Connect team. We're currently looking at how we can generate and make this a single point of contact for people with MND. And one of the things we were told in the surveys was it sometimes takes 5 or 6 calls to get through to the right person who can give you the resource that you or your carer needs. So we're currently looking at how we can streamline that into one team with one team leader. So that's currently work in progress. Our contacts from people with MND and the carers and health and social care professionals are huge through MND Connect. We've seen a 42% increase over the last year. And one of the biggest increases has been from health and social care professionals, which I find quite amazing. That really sort of ties in with the relaunch of us having an education strategy and a head of education and a relaunch of our National Health and Social Care Professional Conference. It's something that we used to do years and years ago, and those of you who've been around the association a while and remember something called Closing the Gap. It's a post that we made redundant. We stopped running our National Health and Social Care Professional Conference, but we opened it again last year. 150 people attended and we could have taken another 60, but we haven't got the size of the room, so we're going to be doing that again in October. One of the things that we have done is, since we did that, we've contacted all the people that came, and so far we've got responses in from half of them telling us what that the attendance at our conference, what difference it's made to their practice. Because what we want to be able to do is understand how people with MND and their family and carers are affected by health and social care professionals and the increased knowledge that those events hope to impart. So we have an education strategy, it goes until 2021. What we're looking at is beginning to get some standardised presentations together across the association. Chris will probably laugh when I say this, Chris Lynch, because we've got 26 RCGAs, which means we've got at least 26 different versions on PowerPoint of what is MND, or on the NICE guideline, and they're not branded, and nobody knows it's MND association material necessarily. So we're beginning to look, market ourselves a little bit better. It's a bit like sort of our equipment loan. Not everybody knows sometimes that rise and recliner chairs come from the association. They think it's the local OT that's provided it when it's us. And we miss a trick in sort of raising awareness and fundraising opportunities through the provision of our equipment. So we're getting smarter. That's key. I've mentioned our guide for young people. That's been a real key this year. For 2017, our focus is going to be on a rewrite of our BMA award-winning end-of-life guide. That's now been out 3 years and it's due for a revamp, so we're going to be focusing on that a lot over this year. So, one of the things we did very early on after the publication of the NICE guideline was doing one of our information sheets, NICE guideline on MND. Something quite rightly reminded me, only a few weeks ago, we've launched this little thing, which you can get through David Niven House, through our care information thing. And this is what you should expect from your care. What it does is take each aspect of the NICE guideline and gives you a little crib sheet that when you're sat with your doctor or member of a disciplinary team, multidisciplinary team, it gives you things to think about. So for instance, I've just picked one up here as a page on nutrition, and it gives you questions to ask like, have you been monitored for your weight, assessed for any swallowing, eating or drinking difficulties, given an opportunity to discuss alternative ways to receive nutrition, such as tube feeding. It's small, it's tiny, it's been user tested with people with MND, families and carers, fits in the wallet and really, really sort of good. I'm sure it's going to be a big asset to people with MND. So, just to finish off, there's lots of other things we could talk about. I'm conscious of time. I think just some of the things to reflect on that we're looking to roll out again during this year, but at a regional, local level. So our association visitors have already been sort of acknowledged, but one of the things to say is we are looking at a whole range of other care volunteers as well as we go over the next sort of 3-4 years of our strategy. Down in Dorset, we're piloting a volunteer who's helping people with MND do voice banking. That's looking particularly successful, and at some point we'll be looking at rolling out voice banking volunteers. There's other care roles that are coming on board as well, and you'll hear about those in due course. We've piloted in 2 regions what we call our carers alert thermometer, and that's really something that AVs are going to be using, just to help signpost when they're in a family with a carer. It helps identify or point out any real carer issues, so carer stress, carer burden, and it's based on a sort of red, amber, green sort of system that just uses sort of 5-10 questions. It's been developed by Edgehill University, Professor Mary O'Brien, who used to be a care centre coordinator and a nurse at Preston, has been behind that, and we're going to be seeing that rolled out over the next couple of years as well. We're currently funding, and this is new, and again, because of our spoken money, we all know sort of now that it's recognised that there can be up to 30-40% of people with MND developing a form of cognitive impairment. And we're currently funding a 2-year project with Professor Sharon Abrahams at Edinburgh University. Sharon developed the Edinburgh Cognitive Assessment Scale, which helps early diagnosis of cognitive impairment. We're running 9 masterclasses across the country as we speak. I think we've done 4 up to now for health and social care professionals to be trained in the use of this ECAS tool, so to identify from diagnosis if there are cognitive impairment issues. Alongside that, we have 2 researchers down in Norfolk. So Aida Mayoshi and Michael Hornberger, a husband and wife team, both are internationally recognised neuropsychologists. They're working over the next 2 years in parallel with this at the so what. So you've got someone's got cognitive impairment, so what? What does that mean? What are the tools we can use to intervene? What are the care pathways we can use, we can develop to help people overcome the difficulties because of that? So that's a real exciting sort of 2-3 years, and most of our care centres, if not all of our care centres, are involved in the ECAS training. Just to talk and finally finish about one of the most exciting things that's come out of NICE is the development Phil mentioned in his report about transforming MND care audit tool. So this is a tool all our care centres will be using. They and others where there's clinics, specialist teams that look after people with MND. It's a self-audit tool that is based on looking at patient records. It goes through, from a patient perspective, every aspect of the NICE guideline, and you score yourself as a team against where you sit on a scale within that particular standard. At the end, it generates an improvement plan, and we can work with teams to ensure that plan's implemented. Alongside our care centre model, we're looking at an affiliation model. So local teams, groups of hospices, whoever provides specialist support for people with MND but have no chance of becoming a care centre. We're looking at a way of them affiliating to us, and one of the requirements of that will be completion of the Transforming Our MND Care audit tool. Alongside the audit tool, there sits a patient survey. So we take a sample amongst that team of what people with MND tell us about the service they're receiving from that particular team. That again feeds into the improvement plan if it's needed to be fed in. So exciting times. I think you'll agree. We've done an awful lot over the last sort of 4 or 5 years to the end of the strategy in 2016. We've set ourselves some big targets for 2017 and doing new things in new ways, but I just want to assure you that what we have done is listen to our members, listen to people with MND through the surveys that we've had to develop particularly the strategy in care that I've just talked about. Okay, happy to take any questions. And I get to talk without the Zumba class.
Yes.
Okay, so, look, yeah, sorry, put it over there.
Can the public have access to these nice guidelines on, you know, what you're talking?
Quite good.
Can the public have access to these nice guidelines on end-of-life care and the care with M&D?
I've actually got in the car copies of the public version of the nice guidelines, so I'll go down to the car and I'll bring some up for you. But the one that Steve's talking about is just a small snapshot for you to take into clinic, but I've got some in the car, I'll go get them.
Thank you.
John, anything you want to add from a clinician perspective?
Thanks, Steve. The only thing I suppose I would add, I mean, since I've been involved with MD as a consultant, which is now for 12 years, it seems that we are in change, certainly NHS, and the MD Care Centre of Manchester will remain that sort of state of flux, I'm sure, for the next 20 years. We've had some exciting developments. I've had members on board in the team, which is similar to here today. We've got a new consultant starting. I note in the chart at point 5, which is kind of respecting and appreciating the role of carers. We're going to have a big push on looking how we can support carers. We've got some research which is funded by Marie Curie, which is starting off, which I think is really important because I think the role of carers is massive and is underappreciated by society generally. And my experience is that carers can help make the quality of life massively better and are irreplaceable by statutory services. You can't get a social worker or somebody who comes in once or twice a day or anything that takes on the huge role that the carer plays this day. So we need to support those individuals, and I hope that in a few years' time we'll have a better idea how we can best support the individuals, because it's crucial to get quality of life patients with MD, and probably I think this one as well. I think that's all I want to say. I think the arrival of a third consultant again, I think will take the pressure off Michelle and myself a great deal, and hopefully give us more time to develop the service at Salford. So watch this space, bear with us, and keep on your good work in supporting everybody involved in this team. It is a team approach we're talking about here. There's no one who's solely responsible for the care that's given. We try to make it a good approach. So thank you all.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. One of the most poignant remarks you made in there was about, carers. And last time we did our carer survey, it gave us the opportunity to compare it against the survey that Carers UK run every 2 years. Carers UK told Parliament that the responses from carers was they spend up to 60 hours per week in their caring role. Carers are people with MND, when we did our survey, told us they spend over 100 hours on average in their caring role every week. And I think that's really poignant and significant, and I'm really accept what you were saying about John about our need to do more and focus on carers. So, any other questions? Points? Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.